do this. Let's get going. I welcome you all again. Let's see what Lindsay says. Okay, wonderful. So I'm Vivek Shetty, and on behalf of the faculty for the mHealth Institute, I welcome you. This institute has been in play for the past 8-10 years, has graduated over 220 scholars. Many of them are stars in their own right. And I would say it has been a very successful program. It used to be an in-person program, and for the past 2 years, we pivoted to a virtual. We hope next year it will revert back to an in-person program. Now, this institute, I begin by acknowledging NIH, particularly OBSSR, and NIDA that sponsored this training institute. It also receives logistical support from the NIH-funded MDOT Center that is currently represented by Lindsay. She's the one who has been handling all the logistical heavy lifting. And finally, Sirius, which is a center funded by the Jacobs Foundation in Switzerland. It's a large center led by Gillian Hayes and Julie Keynes, and they have sponsored 5 of the scholars this year. Let's see. Okay, there. I want to begin by actually acknowledging this wonderful group of faculty who make this possible. There are many moving parts, but the core of it is the wonderful scholars we attract, and also the wonderful faculty. I know all of them, many are personal friends. I can tell you this much, that there is this common thread of altruism that runs through it. We are all very excited about meeting the next generation of mHealth researchers. We actually have self-interests. We want to be part of your academic trajectories, ascendant, and eventually claim credit for your successes. I must also congratulate you because it is a very competitive field. We had over 260 applicants, and the most difficult part for us was to say no to the people who couldn't make it. So I hope you recognize that it is truly a privilege to be included, and that you make every effort to join all the sessions that have been planned out for you. There is a lot of wisdom in this cohort of faculty. I want to give a particular shout out to our NIH program officers. We have a wonderful group of program officers who have stepped forward. Remember that they have very little, if any, bandwidth, and yet they have stepped forward to make themselves available to be part of the teams that will be formed. And most importantly, they will be there to share very generously with you funding programs or research priorities that may be aware of. So I do hope that you can use them as a resource. They're truly, I say, very, very generous, both in helping review the applicants and also sharing the insider's knowledge of NIH. This whole program is reinforced by what has happened with the COVID pandemic. You know, if anything, it has shown that the problems of our times are simply too complex to be addressed by any one group by themselves. This monodisciplinary approaches do not work well. And so we need both imaginative and very courageous scientists like you who will be and are capable of thinking across disciplinary disciplines to take on these complex problems. So one key goal of the Institute is to create T-shaped mHealth researchers. Now, your graduate training has provided you with very deep expertise in your specialty. What we hope to do through the mHTI is to give you sufficient understanding of a broad range of mHealth related themes to allow you to see all the contextual linkages and also participate in interdisciplinary teams. There are three main goals. One is to give you a very integrative view of the latest mHealth technologies and methodologies. What we also hope to do is hone your team science. Working in transdisciplinary teams is an art form by itself. And we will help you. All of you have demonstrated that capacity, but we will help you hone it. Most importantly, we hope through the mHTI to help you develop these very useful connections. Geography is no longer destiny, and you should and will be able after this institute to have friends and collaborators at institutes and universities far away from your own. So you will be able to reach out to the best minds in the country to tackle your scientific interests. The core of the Institute is actually these 5 multidisciplinary teams. Each of these teams have been chosen for not only overlapping skill sets, but also deep expertise in one or more area, be it machine learning, engineering, medicine, psychology, or statistics. The skills overlap, and what we have done is created a common didactic core that will allow you to speak the same language and work collaboratively on solving these problems. Let me and all of this happens and is actualized through the Capstone Project. Each team will be working on one health problem that they will seek to solve and apply their own expertise, the team expertise, and the didactic core in tackling this problem. And that becomes the summary of the Capstone Project. The core didactics is actually built around these webinars. And what these webinars do is it creates a common knowledge base. And we have chosen a whole bunch of themes very central to mHealth, ranging from health behaviors to measuring health behaviors to cutting edge experimental approaches, mHealth tools. We talk about patient engagement, also the ethical issues, soft skills of how you can survive in academia and thrive. And most importantly, one of the high points is funding. And this is a talk given on the last day by Nih Program Officers, and often the high point of the Institute. Now, for the core didactics, recognizing that all of you are very time impacted, we have kind of broken them up into curated webinars. Lindsay will have provided you the link to a website where we would encourage you to go asynchronously and watch these webinars. You have between May 2nd and June 6th. In addition to that, we have 2 Mondays where we will have live webinars. May 16th will be an entire day devoted to health behaviors. We have top-notch people like Donna Metz, Bonnie Spring, David Moore, speaking about health behaviors and measuring them. And then on June 6th, we will have another session on data analytics, which will be led by Peshta Klasner. And we talk about all kinds of experimental designs. And so this is something that is going to be very cutting edge, and I hope all of you will participate in those webinars. That also gives you an opportunity to ask questions and clarify any questions that you might have. In the past, we used to bring all these scholars and then over 5 days conduct this institute. But it turned out to be too intense. And actually, 2 meetings were happening at the same time. So what we have done is we separated out the program into pre-institute, kind of optimizing you to come to the actual institute. And so there are 2 sandboxes. Now, these sandboxes are 5, where each of the 5 teams will meet, and each sandbox will have a mentor. And actually, you'll have multiple mentors, a combination of core faculty and NIH program officers who can join. And through that, you also will have access to domain experts. We have domain experts like, Susan Murphy, who actually helped develop this whole trend of just-in-time adaptive intervention. So they will all be accessible to you, even if they're not your direct mentors. And you can always, your team can shoot them an email and set up consultations with them. The actual institute, this is actually the place we used to hold the physical one, but the virtual meeting will take place from July 25th to 28th. By the time you have finished your second sandbox, each team would have more or less identified the expertise within each team. Each team would have then identified a health problem they want to tackle. So when you come to the actual institute, you would have decided on the theme, and you have already started working on your project. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is when we have our actual virtual institute, and every day begins from like 8 to 10 with webinars. Now, these are going to be deep dives. For the first day, we have methodology with Billy Nahum Shahani and Susan Murphy. And that's a place where teams can actually ask them questions, and particularly that directly relate to their Capstone project. And after that, you have a short break, and from 10:15 to 1, you will have a mentored session where your mentors will sit with you and help you plot out your Capstone project, help you finesse it. And then the last day of the Institute is on Thursday, the 28th. The Capstone presentations are conducted. Each team presents their Capstone project. And once that is done, we regroup. We will have talks on, how to navigate the academic ladder. And most importantly, ways to optimize you for NIH funding. Again, the NIH funding will be done by our NIH program officers. And then we'll have a virtual graduation. And that is fun. Let me tell you a little more about the Capstone project. The Capstone project actually is what each team will work on. The presentation on Thursday will take place. You'll have 10 minutes, and there will be 10 slides. Each team member has to present, so you take turns. We love creativity. When we had it in person, the teams would dress up. They would do a role play, and it was a lot of fun. I'm sure your team will come up with a way of having a creative pitch. Creativity will also be graded. Your presentations will include not only the health problem that you are going to address, talk about the population, the value add. We're hoping to create more and more practical, impactful kind of projects, and your solution. That will include your specific aims and hypotheses, your study design, evaluation plan, and finally, once that is done, you will have a month where each team will then summarize it into a capstone proposal. Many of these capstone proposals in previous years have gone on to be NIH grants. And so they are quite rigorous, and they will force you actually to think about ways to incorporate all the stuff that you will be learning through the Institute. Now, this is funded by the NIH, and NIH genuinely wants to build capacity of transdisciplinary mHealth researchers. And so the expectation is they want to know how the Institute moves the needle. And so we have an evaluation done independently by the Graduate School of Education at UCLA. It's conducted by Professor Minjong Jeon and her grad students. And you'll get a series of assessments. And these assessments are all tied to an underlying logic model. They are anonymous. They will know that whether people have participated or not. But your responses will be anonymous. It requires, you are a small group, only 30. So the sample size is very small. My request is please honor all the effort and the the work that has gone into this institute by participating fully into each of these assessments. Now, one thing that I have learned from the behavioral economists is incentivize it. So those who get 100% participation will also get your graduation certificate. So let's talk a little about the phases. What really happens? I have actually borrowed from Bruce Tuckman's stages of team science development. And essentially, the first time you meet in teams, there's quite a bit of tension. Though I find that increasingly, the teams are, they gel together much faster than in the past. But all of you will be disciplinary experts. You will use the same vocabulary, but you find that you're meeting completely different teams. So you'll be talking to an engineer in your team, or the engineer will be talking to a behaviorist. And so there is a bit of tension there that you will navigate. But nonetheless, the teams will start coming together. They will map out their skills and expertise. And that's where we have our seasoned mentors. Several of them who themselves are graduates of this program, so they've gone through this. And once the forming and storming takes place, you get into the norming phase. So hopefully by the time you arrive for the Institute, the team would have built up a team identity. People know where the strengths are and they're relying on each other, and you're functioning together as a true team. And finally, the last day or two is when you're performing. Everything comes together, and then you do this wonderful capstone project and presentation. So I share this because you will have that. You come in from very different backgrounds, very different institutions. You haven't truly met each other. You haven't even had the occasion to break bread, which we would have done when you were together. And then you all come together. But it happens. Last year was a good example of how, despite the constraints, the teams came together, and it was still a wonderful experience. There will be a report back on Tuesday, a brief debrief. Each team will come and give a quick 5-minute presentation on I think the 27th to tell us what project they have chosen and where they are with it. And then, of course, your evaluations will be hitting you at regular intervals. I talked to you about, one of the things I regret is not getting to know you personally, but I do hope that you will use the Google photo site that Lindsay's created to upload some of your photographs. If you're wondering who this glamorous lady is, that's Donna Metz. You will meet her. And I suspect she's somewhere in Holland right now. Your dogs, or if you have a cute kid like Lindsay just had, do put in your photographs. We get to know you better that way. So let me stop here for a moment. We will be going into scholarly introductions, and I will probably be on mute because a construction crew has decided to show up below my office with their jackhammers. You know how this goes. And I will be on mute because I told them to hold off for half an hour, which they've been doing generously. So before we get into scholar introductions, number one, I want to thank Lindsay. Lindsay has done a yeoman's job of all the applications communicating. So, and she's a new mother. So I really appreciate, we have a lot to thank you, a virtual acknowledgement of Lindsay. And are there any questions that I can answer or we can answer? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask us before we get into the introductions. Okay. I do hope you start feeling comfortable, and I do appreciate it's hard, this virtual format, but it's the best we can do in these challenging times. So let's go into scholar introductions. Each of you will have 2 minutes. Lindsay will run it. I will be on mute. And basically tell us within these 2 minutes who you are, what you do, what you actually hope to get from the mHTI, and what experience or expertise do you have that others will find useful. And most importantly, and this is the one I relish reading your applications, a fun fact about you. Okay, so I will stop sharing. I will hand it over to Lindsay.
All right. So I'll just go down the list that I sent you all, and I'll say your first name, and maybe you can say your first and last name. That way, if I pronounce anything incorrectly, people can have that first impression correct. So let's just go ahead and start off with Arjun. Arjun.
Hi, I'm Arjun Atreya. If you get my last name wrong, you can just call me AJ, which is a Starbucks name. I am a computer scientist by training, and I'm an assistant professor in pharmacology at the Mayo Clinic. I'm looking forward to collaborations with all of you behavior scientists and clinicians in trying to see how we engineers can help build an ecosystem to advance patient outcomes with mobile technologies. Fun fact about me, I love to hike. I've just posted some pictures of myself climbing some 8,000 and 14,000ers last year. And I love to travel and bring back recipes and cook. So my fun facts.
Very good. Jeannie?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jeanne Bailey. I'm an assistant professor in orthopedic surgery at UCSF. I'm a PhD. My training is mostly in biomechanics, and I've been spending the last 6 years developing markerless motion capture technology. And so that's kind of some of the inspiration for taking this course. But also for the last 5 years, I've been consulting a lot with digital health companies, trying to understand how we can manage chronic pain basically through a digital care app. So I thought this program would be a great way for me to hone my own mobile health app skills and bring it more to the academic setting and less from my experiences in industry, or both. But yeah, I'm really excited to participate in this course. And I think the diversity of everyone's backgrounds will be really fun to learn about. Fun fact about me, I have 2 boys that are 1 and 3 years old, and it's truly insanity. And so yeah, I do that and that takes up a lot of my time, besides maybe watching some Seinfeld every now and then. But yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Laura Bellows.
Hi, all. I'm excited to join you for the next couple months in this course. So I'm an associate professor in the Division of Nutritional Sciences at Cornell University. I just switched institutions. I was at Colorado State University for 20 years. And my research is looking at the development of nutrition behaviors and physical activity patterns in early childhood, primarily working with Head Start audiences. So those who are at risk for health disparities, so low-income individuals, rural communities, as well as underrepresented minorities. What I hope to get, so I jumped in the deep end and actually have some funding to develop an mHealth intervention. So I'm hoping that this course can kind of help guide me, and I can pick everyone's brains about how we're moving forward and working with our software developers and so forth. My expertise is probably more about intervention development, community engagement, and behavior change. It's really where I've spent my career thus far. A fun fact about me, I too love the outdoors, but I'm also a travel enthusiast. So I have, what I wrote was that I've been to 24 countries, visited 46 states, 2 US territories, and my bucket list is to make it to all the US national parks. So I just checked one more off in Puerto Rico last week. So I was really excited.
Wow. Natalie?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nat Benda. I am a instructor at Weill Cornell Medicine in New York City, although I'm actually moving to an assistant professor position at Columbia School of Nursing next year to start my tenure track role. So what I'm hoping to get from the Institute, like Laura, I also have some funding to develop a postpartum symptom monitoring application. So I'm hoping to learn from all of you as I undertake some of that funding work, and also learn a little bit more about implementation and evaluation in the long term and kind of long-term utilization of the things we develop. My background is in human factors engineering. Sometimes in industry you hear it called user-centered design or user experience. And my work really focuses on trying to develop inclusive solutions and specifically design technologies that are targeted at reducing health inequities. My fun fact, I'll kind of go off of Laura's last week when we were still totally, or last year when we were still totally remote. My friend and I took a 6-week cross-country road trip to try and hit as many national parks as we could, doing some remote work along the way, but also taking some time off to enjoy.
Oh, okay. Kara?
Hi, I'm Kara Christensen. I apologize. I have the flu, so I'll turn it on for now, but it's been kind of rough around here this weekend. I am currently a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Kansas. I'm trained as a clinical psychologist, starting a new faculty position at University of Nevada, Las Vegas as of July 1. My research focuses on developing mHealth apps and identifying new treatment targets for people with eating disorders. So I'm the co-developer of an app that we've created, a guided self-help CBT to treat university students with eating disorders. And then we're just getting ready to launch our mHealth app. That's an NIH R34, looking at supporting adolescents as they're transitioning from intensive anorexia treatment to outpatient care. And then fun fact, I foster dogs. So I've got this little guy here today. And then her brother is sleeping under the bed.
Perfect. Jai?
Hi, I'm Jaya. Sorry.
Got it.
Jaya Craddock. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Maryland in the School of Social Work. And my research focuses on HIV prevention, sexual health promotion among young Black adults. So I'm more on the behavioral health side, but I'm currently working to actually develop an mHealth app and some other technologies too. For HIV interventions. And so I'm in the process of like collecting data for the more formative stage, understanding their needs and wants, and then also we're going to be adapting an already developed app to meet the needs of young Black adults. So I'm in the process of doing that. I've done some like cross-functional collaborations previously and like coming up with video games and all of that. So I've dabbled, but I'm not like well-versed in it. So I'm excited to be here to learn as much as I can and really build collaborations across the different fields to help develop technologies, whether it's for sexual health or not. You know, I'm just really interested in the whole product development for health area. I'm also working on the R34, so I would love to talk to Nat. I think who said they're doing the R34. Sorry, but I think it was the one right before me. I'm sorry, but yeah, to further develop the app. A fun fact about me, I had a couple of them, so I'm gonna go with what Jeannie kind of said. I have a 6-month-old who's literally sitting next to me. So if you see her, she might be around. And I also have a 5-year-old who will be at school the whole time. But yeah, so it's a fun bunch here. And yeah, so that's me.
Awesome. Caroline Dorfman.
Hi there. I know that there's at least one other Caroline in this bunch. So nice to meet you all today. And I'm looking forward to spending some time with you all virtually over the course of the next several months. I'm Carolyn Dorfman. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry at Duke. I am a clinical psychologist, and I help to co-lead the Duke Teen and Young Adult Oncology Program and the Duke Oncofertility Program. My research is around improving symptom management for young adult cancer survivors. And this work, right now I have a KO8 that is looking to help young adult survivors improve pain, fatigue, and emotional distress following cancer treatment. And as a part of this, we have developed a mobile app in conjunction with an app development group that has a platform that we then adapt based on the needs of our project. And so I've dabbled a little bit in the mHealth space, but I'm really looking to learn more about the use of different mobile health technologies in intervention, development, and implementation. Specifically, we have a project that we're just about to start up to help reduce cardiovascular disease risk factors for young adult cancer survivors whose treatments put them at risk for cardiovascular disease. And so we are thinking about the best ways to include, Bluetooth devices to monitor blood pressure and monitor weight and monitor, glucose levels, things like that, and how to do that. So I'm hoping to learn a lot around the use in terms of behavioral health strategies. And then fun fact about me, I have two little boys who are currently at home because I landed this morning in Pittsburgh. I'm here for a conference, so you can see the lovely Wyndham Grand Hotel room behind me. And this is my first time leaving them in 2 years because of COVID. So I am looking very forward to sleeping in a room alone and getting to sleep in and wake up to an alarm clock and not a little person. So yeah, nice to meet you all.
Aw. Okay, Taylor.
Hi, my name is Taylor Burke. I'm a clinical psychologist and faculty member at Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard Medical School. My research is focused on leveraging technology to improve the prediction and prevention of self-injurious thoughts and behaviors among adolescents and young adults. So non-suicidal self-injury, suicidal ideation, behavior are my areas of research. I currently hold an NIH-funded K-23 focused on passive mobile sensing, the assessment of adolescent sleep and physical activity using wearables, and idiographic modeling to help to develop personalized proximal risk models for youth to predict increases in suicide risk. And then I also have an ongoing project looking at using computer vision to enhance suicide risk screening in pediatric healthcare settings. Things that I'm interested in learning from this training institute, definitely wanting to be exposed to more of like mHealth interventions and like novel approaches to assessment, and really like learning best practices in team science. I've had a lot of experiences, but I feel like there's a lot more to learn. And I'm also just really excited about developing connections with all of you here. In terms of experience that others might find useful, I think, as I said, just that my experience in youth suicide research, it's obviously a huge problem right now. And I think I bring a unique perspective having focused on this for the entirety of my career. And then fun fact about me, I love skiing and I look forward to the winters to try to get as much in as possible.
So fun. Okay, Jeff.
Hi, my name is Jeff Epstein, clinical psychologist. I'm the director of the Center for ADHD at Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center. And my research is primarily on trying to improve the quality of ADHD care, particularly in community-based settings and particularly with pediatricians. As part of my work, I've developed a online mHealth intervention that allows doctors, pediatricians to collect parent-teacher ADHD ratings, as well as to deliver behavioral interventions online. Most of that has been developed with NIH funding. I've learned from that work how to work with stakeholders to present data in ways that's going to be useful to them. I've also worked more recently on how to embed my intervention within popular EHRs using the FHIR language to make that happen. And I'm currently in the midst of a NIH dissemination grant to try and get this grant out to pediatricians nationwide. I want to move into looking at using digital device, wearable device data to work to try and improve the level of ADHD care. And so what I'm really hoping to learn from the Institute is methods for collection, as well as analyzing, particularly using machine learning with those digital biomarker data, because I just haven't done anything along those lines before. Fun fact about myself, I have lots of hobbies, but I think my favorite hobby is brewing beer. I like making beer, particularly India Pale Ale, so that's me.
So cool. Okay, Shantini?
Hi, I'm Shantini Kasturi. I am a practicing rheumatologist and a health services researcher at Tufts Medical Center in Boston. So for those of you who are not familiar with rheumatology, what I do is I see patients who have autoimmune diseases and inflammatory conditions, and also more common arthritis conditions. So my research has focused on patients with lupus, which is one of the quintessential autoimmune diseases. It affects young women and can pretty much wreak havoc in their lives, a lot of quality of life issues in that population. I'm mostly focused on measuring patient-centered outcomes in this population, so I have some experience with psychometrics, but I've also now moved into intervention development. And like many in the group, I have a K-23 that's oriented towards developing and pilot testing a peer coaching intervention that's mHealth enabled to target fatigue in this population, because this is sort of the #1 patient concern. So in terms of what I am looking to get out of the Institute, I'm really excited to apply some of what I learned to my project and to think about other projects moving forward that utilize mHealth technology and research methodology. And I think even more than that, I'm really excited to meet all of you and sort of learn from your expertise and differing perspectives on the same problems that we're all thinking about. What expertise do I have? So I'm a clinician. There aren't too many clinicians in the group, so I sort of have a lot of experience talking to patients. But beyond that, psychometrics expertise and sort of experience running longitudinal studies and cohort studies and mixed methods research, which I've done a bit of. In terms of interesting facts, I think Caroline mentioned she was at her first conference in a while. So I actually just got back from my first conference, and unlike Caroline, I actually took my children with me, so I didn't get a break. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, but I had to take them with me because the conference was in Orlando and I couldn't deprive them of that opportunity. So they had an awesome time meeting Mickey Mouse. The 2-year-old freaked out and ran away when the time came to meet him, but I think overall everyone had a good time. Still recovering from the journey though.
Justin?
Thanks. Yeah, my name's Justin Knox. I'm an epidemiologist by training. I'm an assistant professor at Columbia University. My research is on HIV and substance use, and mostly focused among racial and sexual minorities, both domestically and globally. I'm also on a K Award, trying to get training in intervention and implementation science, and doing a project focused on adding support for reducing alcohol use using mHealth in the context of HIV prevention and care. So hoping to, from this institute, get more experience, expertise working with people that have used mHealth interventions before, or technology to support, substance use treatment and HIV care generally. And also just to meet other, early stage investigators and people working in this area and build those collaborations and networks. My expertise, my training is in epidemiology. So maybe that's of use to others. I also have a master's degree in medical anthropology. So some qualitative expertise as well. I'm getting sort of immersed in this field of implementation science. So I'm eager to have discussions about that for those who are interested. So those are maybe areas where I could be helpful to others. And then, I'm a parent of young children as well. I have 3 boys, 9, 7, and 5. Love taking them out to travel. Feels like we're constant with them. So sharing recipes and, travel experiences or restaurant experiences would, and engaging in a more social way all sounds great. So thank you.
Wonderful. Rachel?
Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel Cornfield. I'm a research assistant professor in preventive medicine at Northwestern University, part of the Center for Behavioral Intervention Technologies. My area of research is digital mental health, so tools for people managing common conditions like depression and anxiety. My PhD is in communication studies. I also have training in human-computer interaction. So I'm kind of working in an interdisciplinary space, working with a lot of clinical psychologists right now. Also have some experience with working on designing and evaluating mobile apps for substance use disorders. I have a K that I recently received from NIMH that's focused on designing and evaluating a text messaging based intervention to support depression self-management. And kind of one of the pieces of that is machine learning, using reinforcement learning to adapt the sorts of messaging that people are receiving. So hopefully being responsive to the context they're embedded in, individual differences, and all of that. So really looking to work with some of you who have more kind of technical expertise, maybe computer science expertise. I'm also really interested in meeting the needs of different subpopulations and minoritized populations. So that's an area I'm interested in as well. So really excited about it. And what I can bring to the table is my user-centered design experience, kind of working to build tools that people find engaging and will want to use. So that's something I'm very passionate about. As far as a fun fact, I think I shared in my application, I've been vegetarian since childhood and love to cook, but I also wanted to share I'm in New Orleans, which is one of my favorite cities for CHI, one of our main human-computer interaction conferences, and it's Jazz Fest as well here. So really beautiful and bustling, and I'm excited to explore one of my favorite cities.
Fun. Krista?
Hello, I'm Krista Leonard. I am a postdoctoral fellow at Arizona State University. Broadly, my research interests include the psychosocial determinants and outcomes of physical activity and sedentary behaviors. My graduate training was very heavily focused on weight management during pregnancy and during postpartum by improving physical activity and healthy eating behaviors. Now I'm gaining more experience in sedentary behaviors, particularly sedentary screen time and sedentary time in the workplace. We are currently using mobile health apps to deliver those 2 different interventions. What I hope to gain out of this is I don't have much experience in sort of the formative and refinement stage of mobile health app intervention, so I'd love to learn more about that. What I feel I can bring is I do have experience in a lot of the measurement side using mobile health technologies, and particularly in special populations such as pregnant women with overweight or obesity, and just sort of the practical versus research needs using the mobile health tools. Fun fact, I can't remember what I put on the application, but I do have an identical twin sister.
That's a good one. Agatha.
Thank you, Lindsay. So I'm Agatha Lenardowicz. I am associate professor at UCLA, actually, and I am a cognitive neuroscientist by training. So basic science of attention control systems, studied using EEG and MRI, fMRI. But in the last 10 years, I've been, and I work currently at the med school, and so I collaborate quite a bit with ADHD researchers. And so we've been looking at particularly mobile measures of attention using EEG. I'm currently finishing an R21 to track attention states using EEG, and we're trying to incorporate more physiological sensors in the context of learning in the classroom to figure out the best context for learning for different types of kids with different conditions. And so why am I here? Well, it's to, I have this academic interest in translation. I really want to push the practical side of translation to understand both the technical aspects, sensors and integration, and also the behavioral aspects, sort of which questions are most useful from a behavioral outcome perspective. So what can I offer? I have a lot of expertise in brain signals, attention systems, mobile EEG, signal processing, et cetera. And one fun fact, so as a kid, I always wanted to be in the circus. And so at the ripe old age of 40, I decided to take aerial classes, which I do now, and make an absolute fool of myself with my 20-year-old co-class, participants.
So cool. Okay, you, Clay or Alex?
Hi, everyone. Very nice meeting you. I am an assistant professor of internal medicine at the University of Michigan. I'm an endocrinologist by training, and I have been doing low blood glucose research or hypoglycemia research for the last 9 years, and that's really where my passion lies. Right now, I have a K23 involving developing behavior interventions, mobile health behavior interventions for improving low blood glucose or hypoglycemia self-management. And what I'm trying to learn is, as you have heard, that I'm more like the clinician side, but I really need to get to know develop my expertise in mobile health, and particularly we're thinking about using CBT or motivational interviewing techniques in the text messaging development. And my mentor has been trying to push me into the AI field. I'm not sure whether to get into that or not, but I hope to learn about AI techniques as well. And I have a lot of most of my experience were around hypoglycemia research, and I have experience in developing database for studying people with low blood glucose levels or diabetes, and also have done survey studies. I have done pilot trial for drug testing, and also have mixed methods research experience as well. So I'm hoping to contribute that to the group. And one fun fact about me is that I have one 8-year-old daughter and one 5-year-old son. And my son just disclosed to me the other day that he wants to work in medicine because he wants to work with me. And my 8-year-old daughter got really anxious that, I need to make my decision. I said, you still have many years to think about it and have make a decision. But she was just thinking that, her younger brother has made the decision, so she has to make one. Very nice to meet everyone here.
So sweet. Okay, Jessica? Jessica Lipschitz?
Hi. Yeah, I am Jessica Lipschitz. I'm an assistant professor at Harvard Medical School and Brigham and Women's Hospital. I'm a clinical psychologist by training and also have specialized training in implementation science. My research, I do a lot of mixed methods research, evaluating intervention implementation strategies in routine care and day-to-day life settings. And I currently have a K23 to conduct a micro-randomized trial focused on better understanding what drives engagement with digital mental health interventions. And then I have a few other grants focused on digital phenotyping for precision medicine. My interest in being part of the Institute is really in getting to know all of you and finding some nice collaborations for future work. A fun fact about me, in addition to being an academic and a mother, also of a young child, I am an adventure sports enthusiast. So when I find free time, I'm usually hanging off the side of a cliff or surfing in New England, which is quite cold, but I don't travel so much anymore with being so busy, or walking up a hill to then ski down it. So that's what I spend my time doing.
Okay.
Trying to avoid avalanches.
That's always a good thing. Melissa?
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Lowe. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Rochester. I'm a geriatric hematologist and oncologist, not because I'm old, but clinical practice, I treat older adults with blood cancer, such as acute leukemia. So my research focuses on using mHealth app to deliver behavior interventions, and areas could be in physical activity, symptom monitoring, communication, and decision-making. And it's specifically for older adults with cancer, and also interested in incorporating mHealth technology in delivery of oncology care to improve outcomes. So my expertise is in older adults, cancer, and specifically recruitment and retention of older adults in mHealth clinical trials, which are often not focused on, and really knowing how to recruit patients during this vulnerable and high stress period. So I'm interested in the Institute really to improve my knowledge base in everything related to mHealth, from designing apps all the way to analyzing data generated from apps, but most importantly, really building the collaboration and learning how to work with other people in different disciplines, and hopefully build collaboration on a future project involving older adults or cancer. I'm a boring person, so I can't really think about a fun fact, but I used to like skydiving a lot, and I do crazy things like, I love roller coaster, but more recently I realized I have motion sickness in the car. So I can't really figure out how I did those in the past. Maybe that was new. So just thought that was interesting. Thank you.
It is. Okay. I will introduce Jessica Mccurley because she is out traveling. She apologizes. She wanted to be with you all today, but her flight got delayed. But she is a psychologist and investigator in the Department of Psychiatry and Medicine at Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard Medical School. Her research involves designing and testing interventions to reduce depression and cardiovascular disease risk in low-income populations. In the mHTI, she's looking forward to expanding her toolbox of mHealth measurement and intervention strategies, thinking about community-based and participatory design of mHealth interventions, and building a network of peers with complementary strengths. As a behavioral scientist and clinical psychologist, she has expertise in designing interventions at multiple levels, individual, group, workplace, in the decision-making environment that effectively influence health behaviors. A fun fact about Jessica is she dances and performs with a salsa dance company. So hopefully you'll be able to see her face soon and interact with her. So the next person we have is Laura McGlynn.
Hi, I'm Laura McGlynn. I'm an environmental epidemiologist, and I'm currently a postdoctoral fellow at Mount Sinai in New York City. I recently received a K99 award from NEHS on chemical, non-chemical stressors and mental health outcomes in kids. And I'll finish up the K99 portion in September and then transition to the R00 phase at the University of Chicago in this fall. So what do I want to get out of this? So I'm involved in a few pilot studies and looking at the use of mobile health technologies to measure environmental exposures and mental health outcomes. And so through this training, I mostly just want to be able to learn better, how to actually complete these studies, and then also just meet others in the field and collaborate with others. My expertise is related to exposure science and epi methods. And then one fun fact, I recently moved out of the Seinfeld building in New York. So Seinfeld and Larry David actually lived in that building when they were much younger and before they became wealthy. So.
Okay. Varen?
Hi, everyone. My name is Varun Mishra, and I'm an assistant professor at Northeastern University with a joint appointment in computer science and health sciences. And my overarching research goal is basically to develop data-driven technologies to enable effective digital health interventions for mental and behavioral health outcomes. And I know it's pretty broad, but one specific part of it I'm very interested in is understanding when to deliver interventions so as to deliver it at the right time to maximize its effectiveness. And ideally by when a person needs the support, that is at or before the onset of a negative outcome or psychological or contextual state. And other is when a person is able and willing to receive, process, and use the support provided. You might, if you have read any of Billy Namshani or Susan Murphy's papers, you might be familiar with these terms, state of susceptibility and state of vulnerability. And that's what I'm very much interested in. And as I mentioned, my research methodologies, it really involves building tools and systems to collect human subject data and employing the various statistical and machine learning methods to gain insights and then eventually deploy those models in real world with actual people to see how it really works. I'm very much passionate about the reproducibility and repeatability of my methods, and that's actually a core underlying principle in my research. So I just started in January as an assistant professor. I was trained as a computer scientist, so my expertise would probably be in in a spectrum of sensing methodologies and modeling approaches, so ranging from fine-grained minute-by-minute time series physiological signals to long-term contextual and behavioral modeling from passive smartphone and wearable data. And a fun fact about me, what I intend to gain from mHTI is basically an access to a network of amazing collaborators and potential collaborators, and to learn and hear diverse opinions and ideas, because I sometimes tend to get tunnel vision in my research, and it's always good to have a step back and hear what other people are doing and hear different perspectives. And a fun fact about me is I love street food, and that pretty much determines which place I visit. So before if I'm planning a vacation or a holiday or a trip, I first see which places are good for street food. So at the top of my list is Singapore. It's amazing. If I highly recommend people to go there. It's got all of Asia down, from India, China, Japan, all kinds of street food you can find on the streets of Singapore. It's really amazing. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Ethan.
Hi, everybody. So great to see you all. I appreciate kind of going later in this list. It's been really fun hearing about everybody's interests and backgrounds and work. So I am a clinical psychologist and associate professor at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. And I do clinical work in a private practice, individual therapy, but my job at Brown is primarily focused on research. My research primarily is in the domain of HIV, whether HIV treatment, engagement, and adherence behaviors, also HIV prevention. However, with that said, I have zero experience using mHealth within my area of expertise, but I do have a little bit of experience from another line of research that I looked back on my CV before we got started today, and this kind of started almost 10 years ago, so I feel like I've been doing this for a while, but not exactly in where I want to just yet. A collaborator years ago reached out to me to ask me to work on a project related to treatment adherence in psychosis. And so we got an R21 in which we used EMA to monitor symptoms and all sorts of things when people left the hospital. And I was primarily involved in coding back in the day. So this is a long time ago. So it's when not everybody had mobile devices. And so we found cheap Palm Pilots to give all our participants, and we used Windows Mobile and My Experience software, if people know that, and XML coding. So I did all that. We got an R34 after that, and we decided to actually outsource our coding, which was a nice change for me. And we're on the verge of getting an R01. And so it's been a great line of research in terms of EMA and also just-in-time interventions, but I really want to figure out ways to apply mHealth to HIV and HIV research. So I'm especially excited to hear some other folks have HIV interests. In terms of what I'm hoping to get out of the Institute, in terms of new stuff, I have no experience with machine learning, sensors, definitely open to new collaborations, especially given that a lot of my work focuses and are sort of done in medical settings. Also, I'm hoping to really refine some skills that I have a little bit of knowledge around, whether implementation of mHealth, analysis of mHealth data. And I'm also really interested in figuring out how to use mHealth technologies and especially interventions and get users to use them for a longer term. What we often find is that our participants show interest, like many of us do, for a new map or something, maybe in the first month or so, but then over time, interest kind of wanes, and I want to find and figure out ways to make things more engaging to people. And in terms of fun facts, I feel like there's a lot I could share that overlaps with many of people's comments, but I noticed some comments about dogs, and I see Varun in the back with a dog there, but I'm actually more of a cat lover, I'm sorry to say, but the wrinkle in that is I'm actually allergic to cats. And so my wife and our 12-year-old son for the last few years have been fostering cats. And so we currently have a mom and her 4 8-week-old kittens living with us. And we find sort of these short-term periods living with us is just enough fun with cats, but not so much that it makes me sneeze constantly. And so especially for those of you living in the Northeast and all you guys in the Boston area, if you ever need a cat or kitten, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you. I'm looking forward to meeting you all.
Heather.
Hello, everyone. Ethan, I would love a cat. I am also allergic myself, but at some point I do want to get a cat. So yes, I'm Heather Nuske. I am a research assistant professor at the University of Pennsylvania. I work in the Center for Mental Health. My PhD and postdoc training was in developmental and community psychology, with also some training in implementation science and behavioral economics, relating to like motivational principles of behavioral economics. I work on digital mental health, mHealth applications, relating to developing and testing implementation science tools to support evidence-based practice for mental health, and also have a special interest in autism intervention and wearable physiology as well. I would love to get to know you all and get to know different approaches in working in this field. I'd love to know more about commercialization side of things, because I've done more work in the kind of formative development stage and, community partnered work and testing interventions, but not so much about what to do after you've got all those ideas and you have a prototype and everything ready. I also have some NIH funding. I have a K01 award. I'm developing a teacher application for teachers of children with autism to support emotion regulation strategy interventions. And for that one, we're tracking heart rate recording over time so that teachers know when and how to intervene with children at school. So yeah, my knowledge is in wearable physiology, implementation science, behavioral economics, autism, and mental health interventions. Fun fact about me, I have a 2-year-old daughter who has 3 passports. I'm Australian. My husband's Italian, and she was born in the US. We love to travel. I used to do fire twirling as a kid. I don't have much time for that these days, but that was lots of fun. And I play guitar, and I'm writing a folk music album as well. That's me.
Wow. Okay. Timilolua.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tammy Priolo, well, Tammy Lulua Priolo, but I go by Tammy. I am an assistant professor in computer science at Dartmouth College. All of my training is in electrical engineering. So I did my undergrad at UT Austin and then PhD at Georgia Tech and postdoc at Rice. My research is in the space of mobile health. Like everyone else, I'm very interested in leveraging mobile and wearable technology for data collection and using that to understand behaviors and environmental factors, or just factors that influence health outcomes. Some of my current research is in the space of diabetes and leveraging also wearable medical devices, so the CGMs, the insulin pumps, to glean insights in terms of what's working and what's not working, and to hopefully help develop tools to personalize management. It's very interesting hearing all of the projects. I feel like someone sharing the project read my mind. My proposal right behind said exactly the same thing that Caroline mentioned. But anyway, so I'm very excited to be here. What do I look to get from the program? Definitely lots of collaborations. It's very interesting seeing, the work that I do, but people do it in so many different spaces. So looking forward to learning from each other and hopefully building lots of collaborations. My expertise is in the sensing area, the data analytics, the knowledge discovery from data, from like temporal data, longitudinal data. And fun fact about me, let's see, I have 2 daughters. I have a 1-year-old and an almost 4-year-old. I love to travel. I love to learn new languages. I love to do lots of things that I don't get to do as often. So right now my hobby is probably sleeping because I don't get much of it.
Caroline Silva.
So I'm Caroline Silva. I'm an assistant professor and clinical psychologist in the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Rochester Medical Center. Most of my work up until when I came to Rochester was focused on interpersonal risk factors for suicide in adults. But I shifted more towards suicide prevention research with a focus with linguistically and geographically isolated populations, in particular Spanish-speaking adults. So my experience with mobile health has mostly been in the use of EMA, both active and passive sensing. So for example, GPS tracking, ambient audio recording of people's conversations, particularly looking at social engagement and suicidality. And currently I have a K23 from NIMH doing a pilot clinical trial testing a behavioral intervention that targets cultural, social factors for suicide among Spanish speakers. And I'm using EMA to essentially measure my outcomes. What I'm hoping to learn from the Institute is really more about integrating mHealth in the use of clinical trials, not so much in terms of risk prediction and suicide, because that's not really my focus, but more so in the idea of mHealth to improve our ability to especially in pilot clinical trials, pick up signals, right? Better sensitivity for detecting changes, moving, targets, right? As well as risk monitoring, and then also integration into behavioral interventions to increase engagement. So for example, a lot of our behavioral interventions include some degree of homework, right? And I think there's a space there for mHealth to increase the likelihood that individuals remember to do some of their homework and things like that, which would probably improve outcomes. So yeah, in terms of expertise, anything suicide, Latinos, mental health, mixed methods, psychometrics, translation, happy to help. Fun fact, I am Colombian, but being in New York, even Western New York, population is mostly Puerto Rican. And I was speaking with my mom this weekend on the phone in Spanish, and I ended up using, I guess, a very specific Puerto Rican slang, term. And my mom was confused because she didn't know the word. And I was like, ha, I belong now with the Latinos here in New York. So that felt pretty nice.
Okay, Damon.
Hi, my name is Damon Swift. I'm from the University of Virginia. I'm an associate professor, an exercise physiologist by training. It's a postdoc in preventive medicine. And my main research interest is the effect of exercise training interventions on cardiometabolic risk factors. So I usually like to take individuals with obesity or metabolic risk factors, submit them to a supervised intervention and look at the changes in risk factors and trying to determine, how does exercise amount have differential effects on risk factors, or different exercise programs have differential effects on risk factors. And so recently that interest sort of got brought into the obesity space. I had an R56 that looked at looking at exercise level after clinically significant weight loss. And one thing that we noticed was that even in participants that were able to maintain their weight, after the weight loss intervention with the exercise, some of them still had increases in metabolic risk factors. And so this kind of led me into thinking, okay, it would be really interesting to know which participants were failing in terms of their weight, in terms of the risk factors during weight maintenance, whether it's dietary, physical activity, or if there were mental health, psychological aspects that were preventing them from being compliant to their weight loss goals. And this got me into the idea of mHealth. And after they get to weight maintenance, can we use mHealth devices to better understand their weight loss trajectories, and then also can we intervene on them in a better way? So that was kind of the motivation for getting into this program. I felt like I've had some experience with Fitbits and accelerometers, but don't know formal training in mHealth. And what I'd like to get out of the Institute is learning how can we leverage mHealth data together, from the data integration. Can we predict participants that are more likely to fail in their weight loss, weight maintenance adventures, using the data that were already accruing from them during mHealth as a way of pushing intervention towards people who may need it more. Other aspects I'm interested in is trying to work with data scientists. What's the breadth of things that we can do with data science, and what are best practices in actually running these interventions? So once you collect this data, how to collect it, how to store it, how to make sure it's ethical and safe from in terms of the storage of the data. So just I've had some experience with accelerometry and Fitbit, but no formal mHealth. In terms of expertise, I've run physical activity interventions and weight loss interventions. So I have experience in clinical trials and also obesity and exercise medicine. And a fun fact about me is I like doing manual coffee brewing. And the other thing is I'm a nerd, so I like Star Trek a lot. So
Thank you. Shawana?
Hi, everyone. This is Shawana Tabassum. I'm an assistant professor of electrical engineering at the University of Texas at Tyler. So finally, I found someone, Temi, who has similar background in electrical engineering like me. So really happy to see that. So about my research is really focused on developing flexible and wearable sensors, electronic textile, and fiber optic based sensors and systems, and interfacing them with wireless communication in order to really develop Internet of Things based framework. So the goal is really to remotely monitor the progression of different kinds of life-threatening conditions such as sepsis, Alzheimer's, and also other kind of physiological conditions. And then regarding what I can bring to the table, so my expertise is in microelectromechanical systems, microfluidics, electronics, energy harvesting, flexible sensor, and Internet of Things, and a little bit of machine learning as well. So I feel like I bring some unique perspective which might be useful for this cohort. And regarding what I'm hoping to get from this training institute, so I'm really here to make connections, develop interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary collaborations so that I can really take my research to the next level and kind of like translating my research from bench to bedside. And about a fun fact about myself. So I have a 3-year-old toddler, and I like to make different snacks and dishes for him. And cooking is also kind of like a stress reliever for me as well. And my son also likes to always try different kinds of new dishes, and also I love making those for him. Yeah, so that's about me. I'm really looking forward to connecting with you and making some meaningful contribution to this cohort.
Okay, Mary Ellen.
Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Vajra-Belu. I'm a pediatric endocrinologist and health services researcher at Pittsburgh. So Caroline, if you want to do something later, I think you said you were in Pittsburgh. I currently have a K-23 from NIDDK and I'm running a clinical trial through that, trying to motivate adolescents with type 2 diabetes to be more physically active using text messages and financial incentives framed in different ways, using loss aversion. So I learned some things about behavioral economics while I was at Penn as a master's student. And so I am most excited about just connecting with everybody. I've been taking notes about all the people I want to talk to. I think, Timmy, I definitely want to pick your brain about the CGM ideas, but and my next plan is to use CGM to give real-time feedback and promote health behavior change in kids with type 2 diabetes. So looking forward to learning from all of you. But in terms of things I can bring, I'm a clinician. I work with adolescents. There's a lot of health disparities in this population. So I'm really focused on trying not to widen the disparities through using digital technologies. And in terms of an interesting fact about me, I think for my application, I said I was learning ukulele with my 5-year-old. She's now 6. I also have a 3-year-old. We were working on Twinkle Twinkle at that time. We've now moved on to We Don't Talk About Bruno. So we've made some progress. And then when I'm not doing that, I like to make pizza in my outdoor pizza oven.
Okay, Xiaojing.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Xiaojing. So I'm an associate professor in the University of Connecticut. So my research is more on the methodology aspects of Bayesian statistics and their application to large scale complex data with variable varying time, missing, or having constraints. So most of my research is carried out through a broad range of interdisciplinary collaborations. And my main focus current is on the development of novel statistical models and inference techniques from Bayesian perspective to facilitate like a personalized learning in education and medicine. So currently I just did a sabbatical at Harvard and I just started all my learning from mobile health. So I did some research to study to say how to promote like a reliable inference in mobile health when there is missing data. And the missing data, I find it's like a ambiguous prevalence here of prevalence in all the mobile health studies. So I grow lots of interest to see how the statistic here could help to generate reliable inference. And also I probably what I want to get from this institute is I want to more systematically study the knowledge about mobile health. And I just hear lots of you discuss about mobile health and your study and design. So I want to learn more from you guys and learn how like a statistic like design inference could help you guys to do a better design for the mobile health or to get a more reliable inference. So that I think probably I could bring like more my expertise in like a latent variable modeling, Bayesian statistic, and my experience in interdisciplinary study to frame more like frame a statistic problem and to also to learn from you guys. One fun fact about myself, so I like cooking. So it is not only because I like the delicious food, but also I taste the different food. So I could have certain kind of thinking. I always like to create some food. It's not the cookbook or something. And if I go to a different restaurant, so I could thinking about how they create it and manipulate after I come back home. And since I like the food, so that's why I also like traveling. So because I could taste a lot of different cuisine in different places. And I think that's all. Thanks. And there also, it's very nice to meet you all here. Yeah.
Okay, next we have Carolyn.
Yeah, I go by Carrie. I'm Carrie Yeager, and I'm really glad to be here. And I'm so impressed with everyone's amazing talents and expertise. I think this is going to be a great week of learning in July for me, for sure. So like many of you, I have a very diverse background. I have a master's in computer science, and I designed and developed software for many years, primarily the Department of Defense and NASA. And then I made a 180-degree pivot, and I went back and got a PhD in clinical psychology. And I specialize in the treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder and complex trauma. And that's a long story that I'll be happy to explain to anybody if they want to know. But And so currently I'm in this unique role. I'm a clinical technologist for the Lyda Hill Institute of Human Resilience at the University of Colorado. And so I do a number of different things. I'm a clinician, like many of you. I provide direct services to trauma survivors, and I work with a wide variety of trauma. I also design and develop software. I manage a team of computer scientists, and really it's about enhancing and extending our clinical services to trauma survivors. I'm very passionate about reaching the underserved. We do a lot of natural disaster work, so we want to use technology to deploy just-in-time interventions, fairly close to the event and things like that. And then I also do a lot of research on engagement with technology, digital mental health interventions, just trying to figure out how do we measure it. It's very complex. How can we predict it and how can we enhance it? So as far as my interests, I'm really interested in using wearable sensor data to monitor engagement with a digital health intervention and symptom change so that we can deliver just-in-time interventions like I was explaining, especially in natural disasters. This really takes a multidisciplinary approach. We've tried to solve it a couple of times with mixed results. So I'm really excited to be here. I want to look at nonlinear models to detect when a person shifts from one psychological state to another, perhaps from a state of resilience to post-traumatic stress disorder, and then intervene, see if we can do some just-in-time interventions to smooth out, and improve someone's overall trajectory. And so these, hopefully I can just glean on all of your expertise, and this would be an amazing area of research as far as something I'm interested in. As far as expertise, I have a lot of trauma treatment and recovery expertise, doing interventions for enhancing resilience. I do a lot of work in that area. The engagement with technology is something I'm pretty passionate about, because as a software developer, we would build things, but then they would not come. So I just, disengagement is a huge concern. And then, and then a fun fact, I have 3 kids, but mine are older, so I'm getting plenty of sleep. But I live in beautiful Colorado, so I do a lot of skiing in the winter and a lot of hiking mountains in the summer. So feel free to come out and visit. Looking forward to working with you all.
Thank you. And our final scholar is Jason.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Awesome. So I'm Jason Zucker. I'm an adult and pediatric infectious disease doctor here at Columbia University Medical Center. Like many of you, I'm also funded on I have a K-23 from NIAID focused on bioinformatics for HIV prevention. And hopefully we'll soon have an R21 focused on improving mobile STI screening in the emergency department. So as you can tell, most of my work focuses on sexual health, including HIV and sexually transmitted infections. And we have a lot of projects that are really at the intersection of behavioral science, data science, and implementation science. Our group uses large data sets to identify gaps in the cascade of care, try to figure out where the holes are, mix method approaches to better understand these gaps, and then develop and implement novel interventions to close them. We focus on the patient and provider, and then more recently focusing on the healthcare system as well. Through this training, I hope to meet others in the field and hear how others are approaching parallel problems. So it's really interesting to hear how many people are working in sort of different areas that are sort of parallel to the same problems we're having, as well as how mHealth can be used to scale some of the interventions and how it can be used to refine, or evaluate and refine the interventions. In terms of how I can help, I think my clinical experience in both adults and pediatrics is always useful, but I also have extensive experience recruiting and retaining patients in longitudinal research studies, as well as working with large data sets in machine learning. Everyone here has such interesting hobbies. It made me feel like I need to go find a hobby or get one. In the interim, I guess since I have no kids, my wife and I went to a tulip farm this weekend and picked tulips.
That counts. All right, so very cool to hear about you all. You're a very fun bunch. And it's also just exciting to think about, just the legacy that all of you will have and the way that you really are going to impact the world and are already and will. And so anyway, it's just really exciting to hear about you all. And I think I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Shetty. Dr. Shetty, did you have anything else for us today?
Yes, thank you. This, as you are pointing out, we enjoyed the applications tremendously, but watching you speak, I know we have an all-star cast, but even more important, I was impressed by the intellectual humility. All of you are anxious to learn, and I think your teams will show that. I must say the teams have been formed in a way not to put all like-minded people together or like teams, but to kind of force you to go outside the box, because you will learn approaches, you learn processes that hopefully, if in a situation in your institution you're asked to solve a ML problem, you have a framework to going about it, and people on on your short list you can call and reinforce. We do have a couple of terrific NIH program officers, and we'll turn it over to them in a moment. But before I do that, one of the thoughts when I canceled it and made it a virtual is that it will allow young parents, us to go to the young parents rather than having them to leave everything and come to us. But then Caroline's anecdote had me chuckling because, and I should tell you my fun fact. So we have 3 kids now grown up, but when they were young, my wife's a cardiac anesthesiologist, does very complex surgeries in a large heart center. And she would look forward to Mondays, and she would find the operating room a much more, a greater respite than being a full mother over the weekend. So I completely understand those of you who are seeking solace in faraway, distant hotel rooms. I understand that. Wonderful. So I can see that you're already reaching out to each other, and I hope that those will continue even outside your teams. Feel free to engage others and your and your mentors. Adam, are you there? Adam and Ileana?
I am here.
Wonderful. Adam, will you want to say a few words? Adam and Ileana are 2 terrific program officers. And I must say, NIH is huge. And you will have program officers. And then there are the people who are really, they're thinly spread. They make an effort to step out and help others. They genuinely, both Adam and Ileana, among others, took time to review the grants, the applications that were sent. And so I'm deeply appreciative. It's not like they genuinely see it not only as giving out grants, but also nurturing the next generation. So let me give it to Adam. You want to say a few words?
Yes. Hi, everybody. So I'm Adam Haim. I'm from the NIMH. I'm within the Division of Services and Intervention Research, and we focus on efficacy and effectiveness of interventions. And I'm with the branch chief of the Treatment and Preventative Intervention Research Branch. And a significant component of our interventions involve digital health. And I've been involved with digital mental health for over a decade, and I'm really invested in the opportunity that provides. So I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to meeting all of you virtually and continuing to chat with you, and really excited to have the opportunity to participate. This will be my first year, and I'm really looking forward to it. Fun fact about me, I'm a beekeeper, which is always fun.
Perfect. I'm not sure if Ileana is.
Hi.
Oh, you're there. There you are.
I'm Alana Goldberg. I am a program officer at NHLBI. I run a portfolio looking to integrate AI and machine learning into blood diseases, diagnostics, and treatments. I'm also heavily involved with our small business and translational science programs. This is my first year as an mHealth faculty, and I'm really excited to be here and meet all of you. Fun fact about me, I have 3 small kids. I totally understand what it means to look forward to Mondays. Vivek, I'm totally with your wife here. And before the pandemic and the small kids, I used to really love going swing dancing and contra dancing.
Great, thank you. So one of the things is part of the training is we teach you, we give you the tools we will teach you how to worship at the altar of NIH, and then and they will and also direct you to the altars that you can find people who can actually help you. Adam, Ileana, and the others, they know exactly the priorities, and they're familiar with developments that are very unique to mobile health, and feel free to use them as a resource for it. This has been wonderful. I really enjoyed meeting all of you in person. I'm hoping you will discover, even in this artificial construct, the richness of the journeys that got you to where you go. And our next meeting is, I guess, Lindsay will reach out to you. The teams will be created. Again, like I said, these teams are used to mix you up and assign you mentors. And I do hope that all of you will finish off your core didactics and participate in the live webinars. Donna will handle the first one, Donna Metz, and then Peja. And you will meet them. And I'm looking very forward to the first sandbox. Are there any questions I can answer? Wonderful. And I'm, again, like I said, I haven't been a young parent in the far distant past. I really understand some of the challenges you have, and feel free to bring your kids and all. I don't think your team members will think it kind of personalizes it. So, don't feel you have to keep them out of it as long as they allow your team to function. So I appreciate you taking this one more thing on at this time, and I really am, we are all looking forward to meeting you. So having said that, I wish you all goodbye, and hopefully you will continue communicating asynchronously. By tomorrow, you'll have your team assignment and your mentors, and you will take it from there. Keep in mind that beyond the teams, you can continue working. There will be rooms, and you don't have to wait for your mentors. In the days between the team sessions, you can, the expectation is that each team continues to meet asynchronously and continues to work. And if you have any questions or issues, you are always welcome to reach out to your mentors. Okay, great. I thank you all and say goodbye and leave you to the rest of your day. Be well. Bye.
Thank you.